We are live.
We are live, finally. Nobody's in the call yet. Once one person joins, I'll make it full disclosure that our internet is shit. Well, my internet is shit anyway. I might have to put a banner on the bottom saying full disclaimer, the internet is shit.
It's essentially just yours. So
We are here.
as yeah, me and Pez are fine. It's just your northeastern internet, mate.
Oh, you're making it geographical, eh?
And for those of you that are listening, whether you join us live or you listen to this when we post it, just a quick word of forewarning: there is about a 4-second delay on whatever James hears from me and Pez. So it's not the fact that he's digesting it and trying
At
to think of a
times.
witty comeback. Yeah, he genuinely just can't hear.
That's what I do all the time, though. I'm just naturally witty, but this is just going to handcuff me. It's going to take away my broadcasting talents. This fucking internet. I've had it 1 week. 1 week. I haven't had one single problem with it up until tonight because I fancied we're going to do a live stream. Oh, I'll tell you what. I'll play up now. It'll see its arse now. Bloody Virgin Media, Richard Branson. I tell you what. Can he fucking come up with a shit submarine and send it to the Titanic, please? Because he can't make fucking internet. He's doing me head in. Absolutely doing me head in. If anyone can recommend any internet providers that are better than Richard Branson's churned out shite from fucking Toys R Us, then I'll happily take it because I'm sick of it. It's all brand new, spanking new as well. What you eating there, Pez? You're muted, by the way, Pez.
Yeah, no, I've realised, right, just because you're a bit
you're
fucking stressed,
right?
don't start stabbing. I'm just making sure it works on the Twitter.
Not stressed.
And I'm currently watching myself eating a bagel on Twitter.
I'm watching you eat a bagel on YouTube. That's right. We are streaming on multiple channels.
Multiple channels.
So
it's all right, Pez. I've marked it.
Jimbo, do you want me to tell all of our listeners and viewers what's happening now? So over the off season, we had a bit of a brainwave and we thought, you know what? We keep saying about upscaling and doing more and more with the pod. So we've done it. We have invested in a better streaming platform, which now allows us to stream live over YouTube, Twitter, and that their Twitch thing that the young people use. I don't know, James is the man to speak to about that. It also allows us to record these. There's going to be more content. We've got more We Talk to 12s. If you're interested, hit us up and we'll put you on the list for me to interview. Pez has got some stuff in the pipeline. James has got some stuff in the pipeline. More content, more of us for more of you all over the world. That's right. Worldwide, baby. Does that sum it up?
I didn't realise that I have content in the pipeline. Do I
you
actually
better have content?
Do I? Well, that's news to me. I'm joking.
Pez, we're becoming a two-person podcast.
Fucking might have to be after tonight. Fucking internet. I'll fucking hand it over. I'll sign over the documents.
James is now the silent partner.
Yeah. Should we talk about the Seahawks, or should we make this a food podcast and just review Pez's bagel with him? Should we make it I'll remarket it. It's not a Seahawks and news and views thing. It's a Pez Eats a Bagel podcast, and we moan about our internet.
Let's go for it.
It's Mum's net, but let's go for it, right? Okay. Well, it's just the latest news and views. It's nothing too technical tonight. So Virgin Media Internet can handle it. Let's start then with Michael Jackson, because there's been some interesting quotes and lines coming out of the Seahawks mini camp that was just taking place over the last few weeks, and from no other than Pete Carroll himself saying that Mike Jackson has had the best camp of anybody. Wasn't expecting that, and it's interesting because obviously we've got Devin Witherspoon now. We've got Tariq Woolen. People were wondering, is Mike Jackson's time over? Is it finished? Where's he going to fit into this rotation now? Does Devin Witherspoon just automatically come in and become the cornerback too on the outside? But it doesn't look like Mike Jack is going to, lay down on his sword. He's not going to go out quietly, and he's not willing to give up this cornerback 2 position. He's had the best camp of anyone. He's seen someone come in for his job, and he said, "Not so fast, Buster." But does it necessarily mean that Mike Jack has to lose his starting job, or does it mean that maybe the plan is to move Devon Witherspoon to nickel? But then what does that impact have on Colby Bryant? It's all very interesting coming out of it. It's all you're frowning, Pairs, but it's all very interesting. It's all very interesting. And I just thought as well, just for some context, just to back up Mike Jackson's season from 2022, because like we've said on this podcast a lot of the time, a bit underrated, a solid player, did well for us. But maybe not your franchise second cornerback outside. Hence why a lot of people were thinking this Devon Witherspoon was going to take it over from him. But just an interesting little comparison here between the defensive rookie of the year, Sauce Gardner, and Mike Jackson. Doesn't paint the entire picture, I get it, but just some interesting little comparisons here. So Mike Jackson was targeted 86 times last season. He allowed 5.7 yards per target on average. Sauce Gardner was targeted 86 times as well. He allowed 5.3 yards per target, so just slightly better than Mike Jackson. 46 completions was Sauce Gardner's allowed in coverage with a 9.8 yards per completion average. Mike Jackson's was 48 and a 10.2 yards completion average. Mike Jack had 75 tackles with 6 missed tackles. Interestingly enough, Sauce Gardner had 75 tackles as well, with 5 missed tackles. Both had 1 quarterback pressure. Mike Jack had 1 interception. Sauce Gardner had 2. So very, very similar numbers in that. Yes, I get it, very small sample size, but similar numbers. Is he really underrated? Is Devon Witherspoon really going to come in and just wipe the floor with him and take this cornerback 2 spot, or do you think that Mike Jack has a chance at starting the season still holding that second outside cornerback position? I will put it to the room.
Nope. Sorry, Josh, I'm going to jump in here straight away, very eagerly. He had a good video of that interception. It was great, and they all buzzed off him. It was OTAs. Training camp's not even started yet. And do you know what the best thing to do when a guy who started all last year knows he's had his job taken off him? But Pete does really well. Make him feel special, because then he's still going to turn up to work and he's still going to fight. He knows it. We know it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. You are right in a degree where I think Witherspoon is going to probably use more because of his size and things. He probably is going to be experimented more in nickel. Like they did with Colby. Remember, Colby never played nickel before. I don't know if Witherspoon has, but I could see it happening. He very much, I think, talking about this for me is very much how I see the team and how I see what Pete's trying to do. It's just rotations everywhere. What did he do when he was really successful with the Legion of Boom and stuff? Rotations, depth everywhere. Keep Mike Jack happy, and just keep that rotation. Keep them all unified. Get them all buddy, and then just keep that rotation. Trey Brown, Colby, Mike Jack, Witherspoon, Tariq, boom. You just same with the safeties. Like I think that's just for me the emphasis on what I'm seeing so far with this team in very limited practice they've had so far this early before training camp is getting the rotational guys feeling special about themselves.
I look at it and I see it as you look at the 2 people that he's bigged up in these OTAs being Eskridge and Mike Jack. Now, those are 2 players on the periphery of this team that are firmly in the shop window. So he's bigged them up. So people might go, oh, maybe take them off our hands, free up some cap space. Mega. If not, the way I can see the season starting would be with Woolen and Mike Jack as outside cornerbacks and Witherspoon in the slot. Because I think his skill set lends to it perfectly. Someone else wrote about this earlier on this week, and it's exactly what I've been saying. I think he'd be great. He's physical, he's downhill, he's sticky. I think they do that until Mike Jack has a hiccup. And then at that point, Witherspoon moves to outside, and then they put Kobe back in at slot, which I loathe to see because I've said it all last year. I don't think Kobe has the speed, the natural speed to compete in the NFL. At slot, he was okay. He was learning, so he could get better. On the outside, I think he'd just get burnt by everyone. I think Pez is right about the rotation. I think there will be a heavy rotation. It lends to a championship team to be able to have reliable options, either starting or on the bench, or if one of them gets injured, you can then rotate someone in, and you've got these chess pieces in our secondary, which I think is fantastic. I think Mike Jack has got a potential to start. But then again, you've also got is it just Pete blowing a bit of smoke and trying to put him in a shop window so people think, oh, he's obviously doing well, he's kicking on, let's see if we can pick him up.
I wouldn't say shop window. I wouldn't say shop window at all. I'd say he's just trying to big him up to keep his morale high so he comes into training camp and fights, because that's all Pete wants. Pete wants.
It's a double-edged sword, mate. It's two sides of the same coin. So he can do that because it's a matter of you bigging him up, which will make him perform better, hopefully. But then the flip side of that coin is that you're bigging him up to make him look fantastic. So if someone else comes in and grabs him, then it's a winner-winner, isn't it? So you either keep him and he does really well, or you get rid of him, free up some cap space, and you've managed to upsell him as a salesman. You upsell him to the point where someone else comes in and makes you an offer where you can jettison him, and then you've still got a young backup.
I know where you're coming from. I'm not saying you're wrong. Like, you're all right. Essentially, you're all right. What you're saying, I just don't see it from that angle. I see it from, look at all our cornerbacks. You've got Kobe, Trey Brown, Witherspoon. They're like a little category, and I very much imagine them three to be like a little slot group. Then you've got obviously Witherspoon being on the outside as well, because from all the speak about him, that looks like the jam what they're going to do. And then you've got Tariq and Mike Jack, who are solely really outside guys.
I reckon Brown plays on the outside quite well.
I was going to mention him. Where does Trey Brown come into this? Because obviously
he's still in the
injury
rotation.
Problems. We don't really know what we've got there. The sample size that we've seen has been fairly impressive. He's still there.
On a rookie. Yeah, he's still on a rookie deal, mate. So they're going to keep him, and they'll utilise him. If he can stay fit and start showing the flashes that he had in college and when he first came into the league, he could play outside, and he's good at outside. Like I said, he's sticky, he's a hitter, and he can also play in the slot, which should allow for the exact same physical traits to excel. So, yeah, wait and see.
I'd say it's going to be Witherspoon and Mike Jack, and then Trey Brown's going to be with Kobe in the slot. That's how I see it shaking out in just a A-B. Mike Jack probably, realistically, depending how Witherspoon goes, like, if he goes the way everyone's talking about him, then he'll just beat him straight out. But if he doesn't progress as everyone thinks he's going to progress, that's definitely, I can't remember who he was in. It's in the recent years where we had this corner and everyone was like, oh yeah, he's going to be fucking brilliant and this. But then realistically, he was just A-Bing with the current corner who is there. Who's Tariq's backup? On the right side? Or the left? Whichever.
Trey Brown.
Go on, Josh, do your homework.
You can always bring back Sidney Jones for the banter. You could just bring back Sidney Jones for the banter, or someone like that,
Artie Burns, haven't he?
Yeah, Artie Burns pre-signed, didn't he? The way the depth chart reads at the moment is Mike Jack, Trey Brown, Artie Burns on the left, and right is Tariq and Kobe, but obviously that doesn't include Witherspoon as well. So essentially we've got 6 serviceable cornerbacks there.
For me, we'll talk about these corners. I saw an article on Kobe where they made good points, and obviously I like watching him. like Josh, fair enough, he has his reservations on him. But one thing we spoke about on this podcast before, I think it was like through the draft with Mitch, was you like speed is just a physical thing. You can improve speed through training. You can't improve the talents what Kobe has, what made him very noticeable. Like,
don't get me wrong, he's an intelligent football player, and I completely get that. I think he's very cerebral, but speed at this level is everything, and it's going to
yeah,
take
but
him
you
a
can
while
train that.
unless he's put in loads of fast twitch exercise over the the off season, and he comes back and he's gained another 0.2 or 0.3 seconds on a 40-yard dash. Time will tell. We're speculating here because it's it's the off season.
Personally, right, with this is I get it, and it showed it on the field. It showed it on the field. He got burnt a couple of times here and there. He did, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Take aside like my little oh yeah, he's sick. I think he'll be a great player. Just neutral basis. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt then, solely because he's never played the slot before, and I personally believe that towards the back end of the season, he started actually being noticeable, and that wasn't noticeable badly. It was noticeably good. Like he was coming in and stopping the run. He was the one who was at the forefront.
Oh, well, he was tied first in pass breakups, wasn't he? Or forced fumbles.
And I don't believe his speed is as bad as he may have shown. I just think never playing a position you've played before surely can have an impact on your overall, second guessing. He even said it himself at the end of the season in the interview. He said it's just overthinking. Everything's going 100 miles per hour and you get caught flat-footed and you're done. And he even admitted that. So it's good to see because, like you said, the intelligence of him, like we saw in the sideline in games where Pete would be talking to him. Like that could be coaching, but it's almost like he was talking to Kobe to go, and then Kobe would run back on the field and then relay a message to the rest of the secondary. Now, that might just be a rookie, developing trust in the coach and things, or is that because he's showing that kind of intelligence and leadership to be able to then go and relay a message to solid vets like Diggs and things. So it's interesting, but
it's interesting.
With this all being said,
time will tell.
The combination of this is great because we're in a win-win. Take away who your favourites.
It feels like we're in a win-win at the receiver position too, Pez. Because, and hold on to your hats, everybody, because I'm going to mention the name that that sailed 1,000 ships for Pez. It's Jackson Smith and Jigba. He would go to the lengths and the edges of the world for this man, and I'm going to mention him here because, as I'm sure Pez will have consumed in other ways. I'm not going to mention it on here. We're a family-friendly podcast. I'm sure Pez has had his fun with these comments. But coming out of minicamp again, Jackson Smith and Jigba reportedly already treated like a quote veteran with the Seahawks. Tyler Lockett has also been very complimentary on Jackson Smith and Jigba, saying that he looks phenomenal. The sky's the limit kind of thing. There's even been some recent comments from Ohio State's wide receivers coach, who's ranked Njigba as the second best wide receiver he's ever coached, above the likes of Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Terry McLaurin, etc., etc., etc. And it sounds like he's all ready to go with his hamstring problem as well. That doesn't sound like it's a problem at this moment in time. So it sounds like, and we're going to get on to another receiver where there's been some positive news coming out of the camp as well in a minute, but we've got to get on to JSN first. We kind of touched on it in the last pod, in our mini series podcast. I think you did your famous, I'll call it now, Pez, and said he'll lead our receivers in yards next season as a rookie. But I tell you what, if he is all guns blazing and ready to go, and we're all massively excited when we drafted him, obviously, but to just hear it already, it's like like validifying our excitement to hear these guys already raving about JSN, and he's barely touched the training field in Seattle, and we're already getting quotes like this coming out. It's very exciting. So where does he rank? Is there a chance? I'm going to put this out there. This probably is one for the hot takes episode further down the line.
Oh, mate, don't go too far. Come on.
Well, Pez has already kicked it off. Pez has already kicked it off in the last one. Is there a chance? Is there a sneaky chance that come the end of the season, come the end of the 2023 season, Jackson Smith-Njigba is wide receiver 1?
No.
What, for the Seahawks?
Mm-hmm. Not for the fucking Browns, is it?
No. Just because of the way Pete hierarchies his football team. No, I can't see it, but I definitely could see by year 2 he could, because he is the quarterback's best mate, and Gino is gonna do some dangerous things with that man. Do you know what? I'll say it this way, actually. I'll stick with my theme and I'll go down on the ship. His stats might show him as the wide receiver 1, but as in internally, no. But he could put up that good of a number this year with like the way Gino plays. He could look like a wide receiver 1.
I only put that out there A to get your juices flowing, Pez, as I always like to do, but B, because although DK Metcalf's had another 1,000-yard season, we know his volume can be up and down in terms of his games. He can go on a bit of a cold streak, he can go on a bit of a hot streak, he can be up and down. Tyler Lockett is the more not anymore, I guess.
Not anymore.
But Tyler Lockett's the more consistent one in terms of he never really sees a drop in performance standard. But JSN and Tyler Lockett, I think, are almost identical in terms of their skill sets and the players, that kind of thing. So you can pick your poison with them too. But you're talking about it. People have already come up with a sort of quote or the line 7-11 Gino to JSN. It's always open kind of thing. It feels like as long as JSN's on the field, he is always gonna. There probably won't be a drop in his sort of performance levels. It'll be a Tyler Lockett kind of consistency. He'll get 100 yards receiving most games, kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Pete won't say he's wide receiver 1, and he won't. Probably because he loves DK, more than most people. But it feels like maybe more from the fan base perspective. Will the fan base see him as wide receiver 1 come the end of the season if the Seahawks won't on the depth chart?
I'm gonna quickly just jump on this and then let Josh have a say about my guy. But I'm still going to stick with no, because do you know what his main contribution to this team is going to be this year as a rookie? Teams are probably going to line up against us, double in DK. Like you said, he goes on them really big games or really small games. What's going to happen is they're going to do the same what they do. JSN, we've seen the tape. As the NFL's, they're just like, oh, what's the fucking word? Can't think. But anyway, they just repeat themselves. So they're going to look at him and go, oh, he's a rookie. We'll pay him a little bit of attention, but he's only a rookie. No, he's only a rookie. That's what teams said about Jamar Chase, about Justin Jefferson when he's only a rookie. Double DK. Then when JSN destroys the first 3 teams because he's open constantly, because the teams are about the threat they're used to, then they're going to go, okay, then we need to start doubling this guy. And I call by the latest halfway through the season, DK isn't going to go on them quiet stars anymore, because what Jason
call it now.
His main attribute this season as a rookie, in my opinion, is going to be DK's just going to go fucking insane on that outside, because he's going to draw everyone in because of what he can do as a player. And then if they want to just think, no, that deep ball threats, like we will let him have the 10, 12 yards, then he's just going to just get more confident and he's going to destroy everyone, in my opinion. He's got that talent. My biggest concern is, we've seen it before with players in this team I don't know what their strength and conditioning coaches are all about, but little niggling hamstring things can build into a big issue. So I really hope these reports are right that he's good and OTAs hasn't been a stress. He's left OTAs and he's fresh. Because we will know week one of training camp if they're fucking bullshitting us.
Josh, your thoughts?
JSN, what I've seen in OTAs, that he made a catch from, I think it was from one of Gino's throws in the end zone, which showed superb body control, just catching it right on the edge of the end zone and managing to swivel his hips and his leg in. I think he is going to make a massive difference. I think very much in line with what Pez said. So JSN is going to garner a lot of attention. We've said this because previously it was a matter of we had no third receiver, or third wide receiver. We could throw to, the tight ends and whatnot for some plays every now and again, but we've had no third receiver to constantly be in the middle of that field, which means that either DK or Tyler has been double teamed every single game. Now it is going to allow for a lot of one-on-one matchups. And like Pez said, I think that's going to be the trick for this year, having JSN on the field to then allow Tyler and DK one-on-one matchups, but also allow JSN to have these one-on-one matchups to make these short yardage, or we've seen that he can wriggle through tackles and make extra yards. I don't think he's going to be wide receiver one. He's still a rookie. You don't have someone of DK Metcalf's caliber and pay being usurped as the wide receiver one, or Lockett as a wide receiver two by a rookie within his first year. By year two, we may see Lockett take a backward step and JSN may go to the outside. Lockett may become a slot guy because he's getting a bit older. You never know. I think you can't call him a wide receiver one for at least 2 or 3 years, not with the wide receiving talent we've got. When you talk about people like Jetters, the reason he was wide receiver one so early was because they had no one else. They had Thielen. That's it.
True.
And he was on the down. He was on the decline.
True. But then Chase at the Bengals.
And Chase came in, and who was their wide receiver one at the time?
Higgins.
Tyler Boyd.
Higgins
is still not a wide receiver one, in my opinion. When you've got someone like Chase who comes in with an instant chemistry, with some teams, but not all teams. DK Metcalf would walk onto I'd say 80% of the teams in the NFL and become a wide receiver one, just due to his size, his speed, his deep threat, and his power, or his power and prowess over the middle. But that's not JSN. JSN's going to be a wide receiver three for a while, and then he will gradually make that step up when Tyler decides that it's time to give up and focus on real estate full time.
Well, that's the interesting thing that's conflicting it with me is he's not coming for DK Metcalf's spot. We all know that we paid DK Metcalf. He's not the same type receiver as DK, but we know that this contract situation is lingering down the road with Tyler Lockett fairly soon. What's he got? Another year or two left on his contract. He's getting to that age now. What's he? 29, coming up to about 30 now. Lockett, he's getting to that age now. He's had some big injuries in the past. He's getting to that age where maybe you have to put the organization over your heart with someone like him. And maybe a glimpse into that thinking by drafting someone like JSN, who's almost identical kind of skill set to Lockett. Are they preparing already for that inevitability? It's interesting. It's interesting.
I think
Tyler's shown he's already taken a pay cut, hasn't he? So they've already restructured his contract. So he's already shown that he sees the team over himself. He's going to be a one-club man. I think I'm resigned to that fact because he loves being in Seattle. His business is based in Seattle. His life's in Seattle. Seattle drafted him when other people were a bit iffy, and he's excelled. I think he's going to be a one-club man. I think after this, he might have one more contract in him, a short one, just to shore up that wide receiving core, and then he'll call it a day and he'll focus on his business, but he'll still be around the facility. And at that point, JSN steps straight into wide receiver 2. We then draft another wide receiver 3. DK is the head honcho with JSN in there as well, and AN other, because it's not going to be D. Eskridge.
I think for me, I think this is the perfect situation. Like the one thing you mentioned with the pick was they want a true slot. In my eyes, I think that's what they thought they could have got with D. Now, this is the perfect situation. Keep Tyler on the outside. Jason in the slot for his first year because he showed it in college. He excels in that area, just doing his thing. And DK on the outside. Tyler doesn't really get hit as much. He's not relied on to, be in the middle, getting absolutely levered by linebackers all game because that doesn't work.
This would be my only reservation putting him in the slot because he'd just be running up against linebackers all the time. We know what he's like for Yak, non-existent.
Another thing as well, where Josh mentioned it with his club-friendly guy. There's a few things this off-season that have pinpointed to me that you might not, if it works out the way they want it to work out, you might not see Tyler as much on the field as in more of a leadership trainer kind of role. So they've got his housing business as a sponsor for the team for the season. So they'll be paying him. For that. Every man and the dog, including Tyler, has been bigging up D. Eskridge this off-season, saying he's even given me keys this off-season. So they're trying to re-big D. Eskridge up because they're the kind of indicators to me that show
want to get rid of him.
If D. Eskridge can... I don't think it is because, like you said, he's on the rookie deal, so why bother getting rid of him when...
Wait.
Whilst he's on a rookie deal, I understand everything that's gone on. I get that. But if they can somehow, as Pete's always the optimist, they can somehow unlock him, that means they can sparingly use Tyler. And do you know what? It's like what they did with Doug Baldwin towards the back end of his career when he started picking up injuries. You won't see Doug for most of the start of the season. As soon as the playoffs turned up, he then appeared. And I said it then to my brother, and I'll say it about Tyler. If you can keep a Tyler Lockett healthy for the last quarter of the season into the playoffs, and he's fresh, and teams haven't been going up against him all season regardless, because like I said before, they're all fickle, they're all stupid. It's like, oh, Jason's been bumming us all season. Let's double him. DK, we know what he is. Let's double him. Oh, Tyler, well, he's past it. And then he just starts trashing everyone, like destroying everyone. Doug did it. Doug, like towards the back end of his career. Doug's main thing was that.
And this is where games are going to be won and lost because an NFL defense now has to accommodate all of that, all that depth, being able to spread the ball. You think we've got 3 pass-catching tight ends as well. We've got running backs galore, one of which is a specialist pass catcher in Kenny McIntosh. You've got Charbonnet, who's not too shabby catching. He's not great. Ken Walker has been proving in OTAs that he can catch the ball as well. So it really is a pick your poison offense now. It's beautiful. So
I don't know what he was doing when he was getting past the coach.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Do you see him when he got? I love it though. I fucking love it. It's like because you know what, Josh? I was about to just jump over James because I've got a skedaddle in a couple of minutes and help my mate. I was just going to jump over James and talk about these running backs. One position that's not been spoke about that much in OTAs and thingy. But
we can do that in another pod.
No,
let's do it on another pod.
You've got hype train
3 minutes
from the running backs has been Kenny McIntosh. I've not really heard much about Charbonnet, and in my opinion, when I saw Ken, I think he's put. I think he looks bigger, looks thicker.
I hope
and
so.
I'm going to go on my, I'm going to die on my sword. Like some of the stuff I see on Twitter, and I see people talking about Ken, you're all going to be very wrong with what you're saying. I don't
want to say.
Yeah, it's an A and B. That's Charbonnet. Like they don't trust Ken. They don't want they want Charbonnet to be the one, and Ken's going to be his backup. It's fucking madness.
Mate, it's 1A, 1B. it's intelligent football to have someone like Charbonnet who can just absolutely beast a defensive line and just beat them into submission and tire them out. And then when you have someone like Ken Walker, you can bring on in at any down. Once you look at that a D line and go, they are shagged. You bring on Ken Walker and just go, we've made that gap for you now. That tackle and that guard are absolutely done. Run through.
So with that sentence, you think Charbonnet's the A and Ken's the B?
No, I don't at all. I think it depends on what type of defense you play. If you have a defense where you know that their edges are not going to play well, then you send Ken on the outside, runs on the outside around the edges and making that room. If you know it's going to be a matter of they have got a solid defensive line from nose tackle to edge, that whole thing, the only way you're going to do it is by wearing them down. At that point, you bring Charbonnet in to beat 7 shades out of them, and then once they're tired, you free up Ken just to let him run.
Because, like I said in the draft process, he is the perfect complement to Ken.
Exactly. This is how it works.
You put Charbonnet in that team last year, James. How many more games do we win with Charbonnet there? Take away all them home runs what Ken did, because Charbonnet can't do that. You're fucking crazy. Charbonnet can't home run hit. He would have been caught on all the ones that Ken broke.
But he would have opened up more holes than Ken. Or look at Ken's plays. Fair play, he broke. I'm not slandering Ken. Let's just be clear about this. The plays that Ken broke off were big. But look at all the plays where he lost yards because he isn't big enough to break down an inside of a defense. That's why we've got someone like Charbonnet. Also, Pez. I don't want to stop you there, but what time do you have to leave? 9.
It's all right. We're on a topic here.
Bollocks to my mate. He can move himself.
I just texted him saying Kenneth Walker, he understands. Doesn't know anything what I'm talking about. I just like, he's on with something. The thing, just how I look at it, everyone's like, oh, Ken Walker is like a Saquon Barkley. That's why Charbonnet is better. No, he's like a player like he's a home run hitter. That's what Saquon Barkley's always been. I don't understand that logic. One of the best running backs in the league. Oh, he's too much like Saquon Barkley. That's why Charbonnet is better. Are you fucking crazy? Are you insane? You smirk all you want, James. But Charbonnet isn't.
I'm not smirking.
Some very one-sided views, mate. I think if you just open up your mindset to this, it is purely a matter of we have now got a running back room that can complement
I understand
each
this.
And you're so stuck on your pedestal of Ken being the number one. You are. Let's face it, because every time Charbonnet gets brought up, you're like, oh, God, fucking Ken's better. But what you've got to think is that the whole team is there to complement each other. You have you've drafted 2 other running backs to complement Ken, because the big thing that we need to appreciate is that injuries happen, especially at running back. Ken was out for some games last season. If we have got a pick your poison now of running backs, you've got Ken, Charbonnet, McIntosh, Dallas, then they all offer something different. It could be a game that Ken is doing absolutely nothing from the start, so they swap it in. And it's not a matter of who's top. In my opinion, it's a unit, it's a group, and you pick the best person for the job at hand. Like, if Ken's having no luck in the first quarter or half, you go, Sharbs, I think you're in, mate, or vice versa.
But Josh, you're not listening to why I started this. I'm talking about the people who believe that Charbonnet is better than Ken. That's why I'm ranting about it. Everything you said, I agree.
Opinions are like ourselves. Everyone's got one, but no one wants to see it.
I've got a podcast where I can rant about this because I do not understand.
And you've got a friend. You've got a friend who's currently holding a sofa by himself, going, "Where's Pez?"
But the thing is, it doesn't matter because James is pulling his stupid faces, but not got anything to come with why he thinks Charbonnet is going to better.
I haven't got a chance.
He doesn't need to, mate, because you're just going off on one, so he can just sit there smugly.
Because at the end of the day, crazy.
At the end of the day,
it's crazy.
Yeah, but you also think that Pete's philosophy on coaching is crazy, but then look at the roster he's just built. So it's all dependent on what happens this season. We could see a season where Ken could have fewer running yards, but more meaningful yards and more touchdowns for longer breaks. But you could have more touches going to Charbonnet because that's the way the workload might need to be. Charbonnet takes more touches to break down a defensive line, and then he give it to Ken to just make a home run hit. I am fine with that. I would let Charbonnet have twice as many touches as Ken in a game to let Ken break out 2 or 3 30-yard plus runs every game because that's the weapon he is.
The thing is, I agree with you, and I have no issue with that because that's how
he's winding you up. But James
no, I'm not talking about him
right now.
I'm not talking about everyone else. I'm talking about all these idiots who think that Charbonnet is on the same level as Ken. Marshall Lynch had Michael Turbin. Charbonnet is a Michael Turbin.
Yeah, but there were also there were also games where Turbo started ahead of Lynch to break down the defensive line, and then they let Lynch come in and just run away with it, which is the exact same principle as here.
But that's what I'm trying to say, Josh. People don't seem to understand that logic.
But let people people might have a favourite player. It doesn't matter. Your favourite's Ken, evidently, and Jordan Brooks, but there are better players. But that's all opinion.
Oh boy.
So let them have it. Yeah.
I love that. All throughout that conversation, Pez is just rocking, just festering in his chair, just rocking back.
Clutching his Ken Walker jersey.
I just don't get it, man. I just don't get it. I'm partly annoyed because...
All I'm going to say, Pez, before you go and move your sofa and like some Friday night dinner or whatever you're doing,
pivot.
All I'm gonna say is my opinion on Charbonnet is going to age like a fine wine. Pez, it's going to age like a fine Chardonnay, like a Charbonnet. It's going to age like a fine wine. That's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying Ken Walker is neither better or worse than Zach Charbonnet. All I'm saying, you made an interesting comment that Zach Charbonnet isn't a home run hitter. That is also going to age like a It's not going to age like a fine wine. It's probably going to age like playing Luke Jokel at left tackle. I was thinking more Luke Jokel at left tackle. But insert your comment as well, Josh. Because
I will happily go down with my shit, but my statement. But we need to specify what we both class as a home run hitter. Because if you look at that 10 yards he's just done.
For hot takes. Come on, boys.
Go and move your sofa at you, and let me and Josh have our moment with about Zach Charbonnet. Let you go and move you.
Move my what?
You what?
What's happening? You cut out. You cut out. Where you're like, you go and move you. It's just it winds me up. It winds me up.
Oh, you can't tell.
It does.
You do a great job of hiding it.
It's just because I feel so frustrated because everything Josh said is right, and that's the way it should be. But I see it because that's going to help Ken because he's better. But Charbonnet's he's not even a bad player. I have nothing against Charbonnet either.
It's a special boy.
I've got no, and you know what? The best thing is, by the end of the season, if Charbonnet does turn out to be better and everything, I'll happily turn around and be at the bottom of the sea, like with my little snorkel going, and I'll take it and I love it because I don't mind him as a player. It's just don't fuck with my Ken. That's all it is. And he's not better than Ken.
Objective bombshell.
Goodbye, good night. I'll tell you right now. He's not better than Ken.
And that's Pez gone.
There he goes. And that's Pez gone. Okay, now thank the Lord for that. We can breathe. How lovely and peaceful is it now? Just take in that serenity for a minute. Jesus Christ. Oh. Whew, I need a fan. I need to turn my fan on.
The thing is, though, that I completely get his loyalty to Ken because Ken is a fantastic football player. And he... Oh my God, can you hear me properly now?
I can hear you properly now, yeah.
Is there any delay? You can cut
There's
this
no
out of
delay.
the recording. It's Pez's fault.
There's no delay.
There is a delay because you've just oh, for God's sake.
There's no delay.
Yeah, I mean, okay, fine. But yeah, I completely understand where he's coming from because he loves Ken with a fiery passion. And I get that. Everyone's entitled to their favourites. There is nothing wrong with that. But I think you can't lend yourself to be blinded by the fact you have a favourite at all. Because at the end of the day, someone could come and usurp him. If Charbonnet shows out, then Ken could be usurped as a running back one. There might be a massive injury to either of them. McIntosh steps up, and everyone was like, holy crap, this Georgia running back is amazing. And then he becomes the RB1 or RB2 or RB1A, 1B, 1C. Who knows? I'm trying to be as objective as possible because OTAs have just finished. We haven't even seen these guys in pads. It's pure speculation what they did in college. We've been through enough drafts now to know that just because you're good in college doesn't mean you're good in the NFL. Case in point, D. Eskridge.
D. Eskridge, yes, that's a good way to segue onto him. D. Eskridge. Everyone is saying he looks very explosive. Everyone is saying the exact same things as when he was coming out of college and when we drafted him, that he looks very explosive, very, so powerful. He's got massive, massive thighs and really powerful lower body strength, really explosive. And yeah, it just feels like I can't get excited. I can get excited about JSN and stuff like that because he's proven it. We know he is an elite talent. Whether it completely translates to the NFL or not, I don't know. But we know he is an elite talent. I can't get excited with D and hearing news about Eskridge, about his explosiveness and everything like that, because it's like I need to see it. And we haven't even, it's not like we've ever really even seen it with him. He caught that one touchdown before and that was it. But it's like he hasn't really done a highlight play. He hasn't really took a screen or a slant for 50 yards. And you go,
he took a jet sweep for 5 yards, was it?
For 5 yards, yeah. It's not like he hasn't broke one off and everyone can go, well, even though he's been injured, have a look at that because that's what he can do. We haven't even seen anything like that. There's no evidence. I'm sure he is, but until I see the evidence, I can't get excited about it. And I don't know.
You're sounding like me here. Like you need evidence, you need proof. Like I was with Gino last year.
I will call it now.
This year. I'll call it now.
Call it now. That's my fucking get out of jail card. I will call it now. D. Eskridge will lead the Seahawks receivers. No, I'm only joking. I don't
stone cold take there.
Stone cold take. I don't see ways at this moment in time. If D makes the roster, I see him as the kick returner because I don't see what else his job could possibly. I know he's not returned kicks. I'm not sure. He might have returned a few in college, but he's obviously never had the chance to at the pro level. But he's not going to get in at the wide receiver position at this moment in time. He's not going to get in over Derek Young at wide receiver 4, in my opinion. So wide receiver 4 is out of the question for him at this point. So then you're looking at wide receiver 5, and wide receiver 5 is just a flex guy that doesn't see much game time anywhere. It's just a penny hard. It's like he suits up some games, he doesn't suit up other games. So wide receiver 5 isn't really a role. So I don't see, even if he does have a healthy training camp and a positive training camp, I don't see where he fits because Derek Young will have a good training camp and be healthy and look good in preseason. JSN will, Lockett will, Metcalf will. There's no room. There's just no room in the inn. So I don't understand what his role is other than a special teams role this year.
I told you, it's two sides of the same coin. Two sides of the same coin. He's bigged up, like Pez says, he's bigged up because, it's like, can I get the best out of him by pumping air into him? Of course you can. Every player's got an ego. They love it. But also, even though he is on a rookie contract, he's in year 3 of his rookie contract?
Yeah, he's contracted through this year and next year, and then I think he's undrafted.
So he's in year 3. And it's one of those, like, even for a rookie who's in year 3, I know Pez was like, but he's still on his rookie deal, you're not going to get rid of him. Players do get jettisoned in their rookie deal if they're not good enough or if they're constantly injured because they're essentially taking up a roster spot from someone that can actually be effective. And I think the Seahawks might have got to a point with him now where it's like, we've had you for 2 seasons, mate. and you've scored one touchdown, you've taken a jet sweep, and the rest of it, you've just been on the physio bench. You know, if they can drum up business, much like Mike Jack, elsewhere for him, then they're going to do it. If you can blow enough, like pump enough air into his tires to the point where another team comes calling, I can tell you now they'll let him go like that because they've got their three main wide receivers. They've got Derek Young as well. We've got Cody Thompson, who's been re-signed as well. You know, someone who's been around the facility for years, who they know and they like as a bod. You know, I just don't see him doing anything. It's like I say it a lot, but that prove me wrong mentality, and he hasn't proved me wrong at all since he's been at the Seahawks. And I can't take another year of heartache after being so excited.
I was really excited coming out. Even though it felt like the wrong pick at the time, you still were excited because you had the potential of the play of what we'd seen in college. Oh, let's not dwell. No, because we've got our centre of the future now anyway. Hopefully in Oliwalu. But we'll see. But yeah, it's just like it's just full stone after full stone, and I don't really have time for it. I can't. And even if he, like I say, even if he does look good, he's and through no fault of his own, if he's been injured, you know, had freak injuries, whatever, that keep sidelined him, through no fault of his own, there's no way into the depth chart for him. So even if he does have a brilliant training camp, I still don't see how he gets in. So I'm not reading anything into it. There's no real point to.
You can only have your heart broken so many times and repaired so many times before it calluses over completely. And mine has calloused over for that man. I wish that I genuinely, and this is not me ragging on the man himself, but I honestly hope that at some point this season he will find a spot and he will be effective and he'll start showing what he can do. Whether that, and hopefully it doesn't happen as an injury to, say, Tyler or someone where he has to step into that role and he commands some respect for a few games, I will be more than happy with that and I'll be happy for him. I just don't see it happening. It's like I said, I just reserve my expectations at the start of the season. 2021, we won 7 games, was it? 7 and 10, and I've reserved all expectations since then. For any player drafted for any season, I don't want to go in and be like, oh my God, we're going to the Super Bowl. Look at this team. As I can't remember who it was who released their season preview, who have the Seahawks getting to the Super Bowl and being beaten by the Kansas City Chiefs.
I did see that. I had a little laugh.
Yeah, we're a team with rookies in key places. And I think we're a bit too young for that this year. But I'll live in hope. I always do. I'm a Seahawks fan. You know, no point being miserable.
No point being miserable.
I don't see.
I was just going to say, I thought we were going to have a heart-to-heart a minute ago when you said there's only so many times you can have your heart broken. I thought, I'll tell you what, this is Mum's Net. We are going to have a little heart-to-heart here. Forget the Seahawks. I was looking forward to that, and then you switched to the Seahawks.
I said, my next episodes of We Talk to 12s is purely just going to be me having a heart-to-heart with people being an agony uncle about how sad it is to be a Seahawks fan at times.
Love it.
It's not really. It's not really. It's going to be much more entertaining.
Damn. No. But yeah, it's. We'll see what happens with D. Like I say, I'm not reading into it. What will be, and yeah, like I said, I hope he does find a role because he has had an unfortunate start to his career, and you wish those guys well, but it looks bleak and it looks hard to foresee his future with the Seahawks going past his rookie deal. But we'll see. But is there anyone you sort of want to talk? Is there any news or headlines that you've seen that you feel is worth a mention and worth a little chinwag about that we haven't talked about?
Not massively. I mean, it's the dead season, as I call it. It's literally nothing's happening. It's just regurgitating the same stuff and looking at who we've got. But now that OTAs have finished, there's not much to look at. It was quite entertaining seeing some of the rookies on a canoe because some of them were petrified of the water. Others didn't really care and were like, I go fishing, I don't care. Like, yeah, your man.
I want to know. I want to know what brand of canoes those were, because I tell you what, fair play to the canoes and the constructors of them, because they didn't tip over. Some big boys in them canoes, and they didn't capsize.
They were
So fair play to them.
native tribesmen, I think. So it was one of the native tribes to the Washington area who had them out in those canoes.
Not the fucking origins of a canoe. I don't mean the fucking origins of the canoe idea. I mean those brand of canoes, where they go outdoors, where they fucking, you know what? I don't mean who invented the canoe.
Well, no, yeah. I know that's who they're out with, and you know, typically I'd hope that they were traditional canoes. I didn't take a long time looking at the canoes, James. No, I was too busy looking at the reactions of some of the guys.
Well, you see, maybe that's the health and safety in me. I was just watching it going, well, those are bloody good canoes. I could do one of them. Not that I do much canoeing.
Look at some of the. I think it was Anthony Bradford. I think he looked like he was about to shit his pants. Derek Hall literally just got out and was like, absolutely love this. He's someone I'm excited to see.
Oh, that man is that. It's that. What's that film where it's like, oh, he's there's a quote for something that he's like, he's already dead, so it doesn't. Peaky Blinders. Tommy Shelby goes, oh, I'm already dead, you know, because of the. I'm not going to get into the storyline a bit. Where are we going with this episode? But anyway, you know how they're already dead and that kind of thing. Derek Hall epitomizes that way. He's already dead, so nothing scares him. Nothing scares that man. Not a canoe on Lake. Nothing. Because I tell you what, I'd be fucking scared for my life if I had to get in a canoe with them big bastards on a canoe.
You can swim. You can swim. You've got a life jacket on. It doesn't matter.
I do have my safety in water from primary school. That's held up.
Dive into the bottom of the pool in your pajamas.
I didn't dive in. I got chucked in by the PE teacher because I wouldn't jump in to get my certificate. It was too deep. We were pissing about in the shallow pool, happy as Larry. Right, you're in the main pool now. You're in the deep end. Fucking chucked us in. No armbands, nothing. That's northeastern education.
In all fairness, if it was an emergency, you're not exactly going to dive into any water, are you? You are going to go in sort of panicked, like, oh my god, what's happened? So
true.
I think it's pretty good way of doing it. Anyway, with that, should we shout out all of our socials?
We can shout out all of our socials. Are we done, mate? Because I'm quite enjoying this chinwag.
I'm more than happy to carry on. I didn't know if you wanted to, because there's only two of us. It's just a gruesome twosome.
Gruesome twosome. Get that on a t-shirt.
There you go, mate.
Maybe not a gruesome threesome, but a gruesome twosome.
That's something you find on other sites of the internet.
Yes, put your VPN for one of them things. But no, I talking about Derek Hall and these people, it's like, who do you think? Because we're getting into like sort of further down the line here, but I'm looking at guys and talking about de-escalation, and I'm thinking, who needs to have a big training camp coming up when the proper training camp kicks off and in the full pads, full tilt? Who needs to have and we'll touch on this again when that time inevitably comes around, and we'll properly focus on it. But just at the back end of this little chinwag we're having, because for me it feels like someone like an Alton Robinson. For me, I know it's not a fancy name, but it feels like I'm thinking of someone who's right on the line of being on the roster and making the roster, and we've added to the pass rush. It feels like Alton Robinson needs a big camp for me.
I'm seeing people already on the roster that I think need to make a big push. I think your Will Dissleys and Jacoby Parkinsons of the world are really going to make a push to prove their worth in the passing game now, because with the three-headed monster that we've got at wide receiver, there is going to be fewer targets for them. So they need to prove their worth. With Parkinson in the red zone, with Dissly being that reliable sort of set of hands that will always make you a first down until he gets injured. I want to say DJ Dallas needs to really pull his finger out, but I honestly think he's just now the, in inverted commas, veteran head in that running back room, because the other three are by far and away better than him, just based on college tape. But obviously, don't know how they're going to go in the league. Who else? I'm having a quick flick through our roster now.
Because I think one that you mentioned there for me, like Kobe Parkinson, I think he's pretty much fine for this year anyway, because I look at Dissly's. I mean, Dissly's out of contract soon, and you're not going to keep one of either him or Noah Fant. It's going to be one or the other. Noah Fant's obviously out of contract at the end of this season, so I think I think Colby's rookie contract will take him through the next 2 seasons, won't it? So I think he's fairly fine for this season. I think it'll be more next season when his big training camp needs to come if he has another so kind of mediocre year. But I do understand where you're coming from.
It's difficult to pick because you've got this team has actually got it's so young with people on rookie contracts, and I'm the battle for guard is going to be a good one between Phil Haynes and Anthony Bradford.
Mm-hmm.
I think Phil Haynes is penciled in at starter, but if Bradford has an outstanding training camp, then Phil Haynes might be relegated to being back up again. People like Joey Hunt, he's just going to be practice squad if he's allowed back on there. Who else? Jake Curran, no, he's going to be Greg Ireland. I think he's really going to have to show out if he's going to stick on the roster. A load of other people I've never heard of. I love signing training bods where you're like, who's this guy? Where's he come from?
Just AI generated names.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it's those standard, like when you do a random draft on Madden and you see a face and you're like, that's not a real person. Who else? Tyler Mabry is going to be practice squad again. Jaron Reed. Now
paid him fairly decent money.
Doesn't mean much though.
No,
I'm not going to plagiarise what the guys on the Seahawks Nest said earlier, but I concur wholeheartedly, and I've said this to Mitch as well. Jaron Reed, I think, will start the season because he's an old head who we think knows the system and knows the organisation. Mm-hmm. But the Jaron Reed that left us is entirely different to the Jaron Reed that we've re-signed. He's had 2 years out in the league now with 1 year with Kansas City, 1 year with Green Bay, both of which were completely underwhelming. I think he's going to be hard pushed by the likes of Mike Morris, Mario Edwards to maintain that starting spot because I just don't think, even Miles Adams to a degree, because if even Mike Morris, they class him as a DN, but we wanted to play 3-tech, so essentially inside the bare front, next to the nose. Unless Jaron Reed pulls it out straight away, I think he could be in for a tough season, riding some pine.
Yeah,
to be honest, I'm a Mike Morris truther now. Mitch has completely changed my opinion.
Oh yeah, we're all on Mike Morris.
That boys will be great.
Yeah, but I to be fair, I quite like one of your boys from the pre-draft process. I quite like Jonathan Tavai as well. I think he's got a decent chance of making the roster if he has it.
Undersized nose, mate. He's basically like Puna Ford. Puna was an undersized nose, but we kept playing him at 3 and 5 tech, which just knackered him out.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not sold on this Jaron Reed thing. It feels like a typical. It's just a typical Pete Carroll free. He's seen him on the market, going, yeah, we'll have Jaron Reed back for what was it, like $4 million or something that we signed him for.
Plastering over a cut rather than healing it, mate. That's all it is. It's right. Let's just stick that in there and hope it works for now, and then we'll work on its actual, repair later on.
And I think he's just like say he's wanting that veteran head in what is going to be a fairly young and inexperienced defensive line. So he's gonna whether Jaron Reed is the best option for that, and whether maybe you should have just brought back, he
was just willing to come back.
Yeah, he probably was. Yeah. Well,
sorry to any listeners who heard that and thought, "Oh my God, is Josh trying to whisper sweet nothings in my ear?" I'm not, but he was just willing to come back. Like many of the women that James pulls on a night out.
Hey, I didn't want you. This is going. That's going to knacker me now. I was on my game in recent weeks, and that's going to now. They're going to look. Oh, I tell you what, that's going on my CV.
Hundreds of women in Middlesbrough that listen to our podcast are going to be like, "Oh, they know."
Fucking not hundreds of women in Middlesbrough who fucking listen to our. But there's no internet, as you should well know. There's no fucking internet up here nowadays.
A small port town in Essex, and I've got better internet than you in the thriving metropolis of Borough.
Before we start to get on the campaign trails coming up, it's because you're in Essex. They're willing to spend on fibre optic down there. It's not.
You've never been to Harwich, mate.
It still sticks, and trying to get a fucking flame going on 2 sticks up here. You know, a little bit behind you, lot down there, fucking Essex. But yeah. Anyway, do you want to shout out our socials then, Josh?
I'd love to. As the VP of social media, I would love to shout out our socials.
I better not do it because I get told off when I do it.
Of course, you do it wrong without any vim or vigour, sir. So, We Talk Seahawks fans, you can find us on Twitter at We Talk Seahawks, Instagram at the exact same We Talk Seahawks, TikTok at, you guessed it, at We Talk Seahawks. We will be updating content. We're on a bit of a lull at the moment because it's the off season, but we are happy to chat to any of you who want to come back to us. You can feel free. All these pods now, we will be releasing them live, so you can talk to us on our YouTube channel as well. Shout out to that. Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon. Oh my God, what else do we stream on, James? You're the man for that. Everything.
Well, I'm not. Anchor is the man for that, or whoever runs Anchor, because they just say, "Oh yeah, do you want it distributing?" Yeah, Spotify, whatever it's called now, whatever they've been bought out as. They just say, "Oh, do you want it going on there?" Yeah, that'll do. Put it on there. Yeah, put it on there. Yeah, knock yourself out. So put it on there.
Find it on all good podcasting apps and websites.
Effectively, yeah, that's what we're trying to say.
Feel free. I mean, we will be putting out. We have a Discord as well. It is tagged in. It is one of the tagged tweets on our Twitter. Feel free to join us on that. It is free for now, and we'd love to converse with you all about it. Whilst we're podcasting, we'll make sure that we put all of our times that when we go live on our Discord. We'll make sure it's shouted out on our social media feeds, so you can comment on our YouTube, via Twitter, on our Discord. Take your pick. We don't charge for comments or chats either. We're not one of those. So feel free, ask us a question, make a comment, and we will give you a shout out happily.
We absolutely will. I'm looking forward to this new age of the We Talk Seahawks podcast that we're entering into now. We've stepped up our game. We're now like on live streams and doing all this stuff. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun as we sort of meander and crawl our way to the start of the season. Like I say, it feels like training camp is the next big sort of point in the calendar that we're looking forward to. So
not for us though. Not for us.
Not for us. Why?
Because James, what have we got coming up soon?
Oh, you're thinking down that
Quizmaster
road.
Josh is in the house.
We're
going to be having a mid-season quiz, so there will be teams of James plus one other, Pez plus one other, and Mitch plus one other. If you'd like to join, feel free to get into contact with us over our socials. We'll put your name in a hat. We'll pull it out, and then you could be a guest on here. We've got guest questionnaires or questionnaires, people asking questions. We'll go through a full episode. We'll be testing your general knowledge about last season and previous seasons, and then there'll be a prize at the end as well. But stay tuned. We'll put it on our social so you know exactly when that episode's going to go live.
Yes, I think we're calling it the Big Fat Seahawks Quiz of 2022 or something like that, aren't we? So, yes, we will see who those guests are joining us on our teams. We may have a surprise or two in store, potentially. We'll see. You never quite know who'll turn up for a good old quiz. But yeah, that I am looking forward to that when we get around to doing it and penciling it in. So stay tuned for that. That is going fairly soon. But yeah, like I say, we'll be live streaming a couple of times each week from now on, I would imagine, on our regular weeks, on a regular basis. So that's going to be fun, and we can't wait to interact with you all via this new live streaming platform that we've got. But if you fancy if you're not into all the live streaming stuff, you just want to carry on listening to us as normal through your audio or however you get your podcast, we love you for doing that too. So don't feel pressured or anything to come on the live streams. You can listen to us however you want to do, and it doesn't matter to us. We love you all the same. We're not just like abandoning all our original audio listeners for now our new live stream. We respect the OGs as well, Josh. You know what I mean? We're entering into a new era, but we still love the OG.
I'm an OG compared to you.
I suppose you are, yeah. Well, how could anyone be more OG than me? How can anyone be any more OG than me? Tell you what.
You're 12, mate. You can't be an OG.
That's appalling. Was that a reference to like the
OG means original gangster, meaning old one. Mate, you at least get down with your hip hop slang. Come on, you can't even. No,
I thought
right.
it was
Sorry.
original guy.
With that, listeners, I'm going to sign us off because you have disgraced yourself, James.
I am an original gangster.
Disgraced. You're not an original gangster. You're an original gimp. Right. And with that, I'm going to say, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.